Hey YouTube! So this is going to be the fifth part of my series exploring the color zones of the face with colored pencils. And with this portrait, we're specifically trying to get as close to a natural skin tone with these vibrant colors as we can. So this one's going to be a little bit different, a little bit more extreme, but we're still going to follow the color zones of the face. So I started this sketch just like my previous ones, establishing an overall outline of the head shape, and then going in and building out those features. Once I'm happy with my sketch, I'll tone my surface with a yellow pencil, which will neutralize some of the blue of the teal paper I'm working on. Now I'm going to establish a few cool areas with this green pencil, but then I'm going to jump in and work on my warms. So I'm going to primarily use the yellow, orange, and fuchsia for the skin tone of this portrait, and I'm going to keep the greens to shadow areas and cooler areas, almost completely avoiding the blue. And because I'm going to be trying to get this closer to a natural skin tone than those fun colors we've had previously, I have to work with a really light hand. So I wanted to take this opportunity to just talk about some tips and tricks when working with color pencils as a whole. So we've already kind of talked about a rich black, which is when you layer different colored color pencils to achieve your darks. But one thing that's really important with working with colored pencil is a light hand. Now I am notorious for this, but I'm getting better about it. But I definitely had a death grip on my materials, and it was primarily because I started out using mechanical pencil. I didn't realize that I had internalized this bad habit until years into my art journey. It was causing some issues with my wrist and shoulder. Now, thankfully it's gotten a lot better, but when it comes to colored pencil, you really do need to start off with that light hand. I like to start from my darkest area and fan my colors out. That way I don't have to worry about going too dark too soon. I think the best example of this throughout this portrait is going to be the socket area, as I have to go in several times and layer those colors to build my value. We're not only building value with the color pencils, but we're also changing the color a bit. So I think a good example of this is the areas of the ear where the fuchsia is layered on top of the orange. It looks a little bit more red, almost like a true red. Whereas the fuchsia just on the teal paper that's been toned with the yellow comes off very pink. And this is going to be because the orange and the fuchsia kind of neutralize into that red, which is really good for portrait because it allows us to play into those hot zones that I talked about in the color zones video. Another general tip that I usually use when working in color pencil is bouncing around to the areas that I'm working on. I know that some artists find it really comfortable to work from one zone, and work from left to right. For me, it helps me balance out my values and to stay interested in the piece by jumping around to different areas. That way I don't get bored with it. Now here I'm pulling in a little bit of that blue, and I'm keeping it specifically to the shadow areas. This will help to kind of emphasize the muzzle of the face, to really inset those eyes into the socket, and to push back some of the shadow areas in the ear. Beyond that, I'm not really using the blue much in this portrait, and I'm relying more heavily on the green to do that cool heavy lifting. I actually end up going in with a burgundy to push those shadows even further. It's just a really cool red, and because it is so dark, it helps to knock that back a bit more. For the hair itself, I'll stick with my purple color, because I just really love the interplay of pinks and purples. I think it's really fun and works really well. When it comes to rendering hair, I really like to work in sections. I think that this helps to kind of give more direction to your coloring, and it applies a lot more form and shape to your hair. Now because I've already toned that surface with the yellow and the pink, I know that it's going to read different than the face in the portrait because that's got so much yellow into it. And that's great because it's going to help it look like a separate material, separate texture, all that good stuff. Now I think a lot of people when they first start out have difficulty differentiating those textures, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. For the hair, I'm actually using hatching as my main differentiator, so I'm just picking a direction to kind of fill in those areas and give it kind of a almost shiny look. Because I'm using that specifically on the hair, it doesn't confuse the viewer with the texture of the face, because that's very soft, subtle transitions. And while adding too many different ways of rendering texture and form can make a piece look really chaotic, incorporating one or two is always pretty safe and just helps make things a little bit clearer for the viewer. Which, at the end of the day, if you're making representational art, is kind of the goal. because it needs to be recognizable enough that the viewer knows what they're looking at. And when it comes specifically to portraiture, you're kind of at a disadvantage if you're trying to do something more abstract. There's this concept called the uncanny valley, which is kind of how we perceive another human face. If it's close but not quite right, like the eyes are offset or something like that, our kind of lizard brain flags it as danger, which we really don't need it anymore. But if you're trying to draw and represent things, you do need to be conscious of those things, because that could be why your portrait looks off. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I think this one definitely came out to be most realistic, and I really liked how the colors played out. We're getting a little bit closer to realism, a little bit farther away from that Lisa Frank look. But yeah, pretty happy with it. So if you found this video useful, give me a like, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of my content. Bye!